All right. So, since she made you laugh, I've got to make you laugh too. And this was a good thing that I heard yesterday too. I heard a good joke. It made me laugh. So, if April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Shannon, you ruined it. She got it. Because you know how we all start to think, well, what would they bring? Somebody said June bugs. Somebody said more bugs. Somebody said hay fever, you know. And then when they told me the joke, pilgrims, I was like, oh, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's right there. I know, but hey, it entertains, you know. Those kid jokes sure do entertain. All right, let's go ahead and bring Shannon up to talk about her journey with you and tell you what she's done. She's done a lot, you know. She's been really busy and she's very creative. You all know her from Pedco. Okay, she's the one that we call for everything when it comes to Pedco. She's the gatekeeper. So here is the microphone.
Hello. So happy to be here with you today. As Brian said, I am the mission coordinator at Pedco. And I started that role about 4 years ago. And once I was about 3 days into the job, it became very clear to me that Pueblo's biggest hindrance is our online reputation, which comes a lot from the citizens who live here who don't necessarily see the value of making the most in life. They kind of want to look at everything and complain and see the bad stuff. But getting a view of Pedco, like in front of my face, was all of the really good stuff. And so about 3 days into my job is when the vision for this idea started, for the Pueblo Montage, which is some way to highlight all of Pueblo's attractions, because we've got a lot going for us. Kept it in my mind, just kept this vision in my mind, and my goal when there's something that excites me is to try to think about the things that do excite me and not get overwhelmed, because there's always time to figure things out. There's always resources available, and if you are able to keep your mind on like a high vibration, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, or thinking about the ways that it could work, those ways they'll present themselves to you. And so I really love the unfolding of how that happened for me in this particular idea. So, you know, social media does so much, trying to post good things, people get tired of seeing it, scrolling. And so I joined the Leadership Pueblo class in the year 2020, longest class ever. And during the class, there were about 34 other professionals who it became really clear that the thing that brought us together, that we all had in common, was a love for Pueblo and a passion for the different things that are great about our town. So I pitched the idea that as our class project, we would create a media campaign highlighting the reasons it's great to live in Pueblo. And everybody was pretty much on board because they all felt the same way. So through a lot of trials and tribulations and wearing masks during our filming, we created 4 videos talking about why Pueblo is the home of heroes, like the history behind that, and the heroic nature of the people who live here. The outdoor recreation, the family fun activities, and the overall quality of life. So we worked with Jolly Mule Productions, which is a local production company. Our class, everyone from the class participated in it. We made these really great videos, and here we are. We've got these videos, and they're like 4 minutes long to 15 minutes long, and we're posting them. And you know, trying to think of a way that we can bring this idea to people in a new and engaging and fun way that they're going to be able to look at it and be like, wow, I want to go check that out. So the idea of the Pueblo Montage happened. And it just so happens to be that my dad is like this fantastic artist. And so what I did is I gave him the list of all of the places that we had visited in our campaign and several other places that that I thought would be really important to include in this montage. So I'm going to pass this around. And the idea was that, I'm really good friends with Nikki Hart, who runs Choose Pueblo. ChoosePueblo.com is the city and the county's official marketing themselves to the outside world, all of the great things about Pueblo. So Nikki agreed that she would put the montage on this, and thought it would be a really great idea to work with the local schools to get those videos incorporated into the map. So this hasn't happened yet because we're still working on it, trying to get those videos incorporated. But there's not really a lot of talent in Pueblo for doing animation and things like that. But when you keep your positivity about you and think about all the ways this is going to succeed, things start presenting. You meet people who, oh gosh, we could do this. I met one of the head ladies at UCCS, and they have a degree of innovation. And man, their students would love to do something like this for the community. So those little things, you just have to know that they're going to present themselves and recognize them when they do. So this is ever evolving. But wanting to get it out there had to start a business to buy all these puzzles and make merchandise and things like that. And that's something, I love being creative. I love having ideas and getting excited about them. But then when it comes to the actual nuts and bolts of it, ooh, super intimidating. So I started off with a 1-hour consultation through the SBDC. And the woman who gave me my consult was excellent. It gave me a lot of confidence because she loved the idea. She thought it was something that could really take off, and if we did it right, it would be a great attribute for the city. And she she introduced me to the Leading Edge for Entrepreneurs class, which is through the SBDC, and Brian instructed. And it was a class that lasted, I think, 6 weeks. We got together every Tuesday over Zoom. Zoom has its really great things, and it was a great adaptation, but man, I really like being here with all of you in person. Yep. But there were about, I would say maybe 6 of us in the class, and Brian walked us through all the different levels of all the different things you have to think about when you're trying to start up a business. So the first thing was pretty much like what type of business is this going to be? Had a class to learn all about sole proprietors, LLCs, all the other ones that I'm not thinking about because they didn't apply to me. Talking about what's an elevator pitch. How are you gonna get people excited about what you're doing in just a few words? Because you got to catch people's attention. There was information about e-commerce and marketing and funding options. So, and then there was a business model canvas. So I was able to kind of bring all the things that I was thinking about, funnel them down into what was actually going to work, or how I could distill all of these ideas into something that could actually be a viable business. So completed that, and then Ent Federal Credit Union was the sponsor of the program. So they talked a lot about financing options, so I went over to Ent, and I was able to get a small business credit card and also a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, which would allow me to have the funds available to kind of get started on this. So how I started was did a lot of research on different companies in the United States that create puzzles, because everybody who looks at this just kind of wants to spend a little bit more time looking at it. It's really, there's so much to see, so many things, so many new things that you see every time you look at it. So I thought a puzzle would just be perfect. And it would also play really nicely into PEDCO's mission, which is to attract, retain, and expand primary jobs for Pueblo, so that we're using these puzzles, sending them out to companies to be like, hey, check out Pueblo. You know, we got lots of water, lots of outdoor recreation, all that stuff you see. There's all really good stuff too. And on the sides of the box, there's the panels on the inside talk about why Pueblo is called the Home of Heroes and the Home of Heroes Tour, the quality of life, all of the outdoor recreation and sports, and then why Pueblo is a really great place to do business. So anyway, distilled all that through the business model canvas, got my business pitch down, got the funding, ordered puzzles, and then I also started a sublimation, which Sublimation is super cool if you don't know about it. But you get a special printer, special ink, special paper, and then a heat press. And you print your image out through lots of trial and error. You figure out how to get the saturation right and all of that. And then you use the heat press, and the sublimation ink goes directly from a gas to a solid, so it imprints an image right onto the medium. So creating things like tumblers, and then keeping other designs. Well, you know, the montage is great in and of itself, but man, there's other stuff you could do too. So did a digital, and Canva is the medium that I use for, I don't know, the digital graphics. But also created, this is the Fun in the Pueblo Sun. So this is a brand new design. There's little things you could do, have a little wind spinner, tote bags, pop sockets. So I don't know if you want to see all of these, but I'm going to pass them around anyway because they're fun to look at. I order everything through Amazon, all of the blanks, and then do the work in my home to get them sublimated. So that's kind of like how my business is going. The way that I'm marketing all of this information is created a website. Cat Fox Designs was who the SBDC brought in to talk about different e-commerce and marketing platforms. And while all of those things are really great, there's this super cool resource that is available in Pueblo for small businesses and artists called Supporting Pueblo. SupportingPueblo.com. So it started during COVID, and it's kind of like Pueblo's Amazon. So it was intended to be, you know, since we were not supposed to be going anywhere besides the grocery store where everybody else was sharing their germs at the same time. Small businesses could sell things like, you know, Springside Cheese did their cheeses and shampoos and conditioners and shirts and all sorts of different things. I love Supporting Pueblo because it's made completely to benefit the small business. So you get your listing together on Supporting Pueblo. You fill out the information, the descriptions, take your pictures, fill out the quantity, and then the Latino Chamber keeps all of your product for you. And when someone places an order, they ship it and they collect the money and they take out your taxes for you. And then they direct deposit 100% of the proceeds into your account. I mean, yeah, okay. So that has been a huge blessing because it took out a lot of the intimidation of doing it yourself, and also the intimidation of screwing up on your taxes. Because that was the big one for me. So I can't say enough about that. I've had a lull in it, but it's my fault because life, you know, job, other stuff, kids, and I haven't been marketing it. I really kind of I was working on this new design. So when I take my focus off of it, I notice that things kind of stop moving. But then when I start getting excited about it and jazzed about it again, the phone starts calling. And the Wise Broad Museum needs another dozen puzzles. And this small craft show opened up, and that's a really great place to sell your products too, especially if it's eye-catching and something that people are related to. Like, you know, everybody loves showing off Pueblo, all the people who love Pueblo.
So I actually help run the farmers market.
Yeah.
Have you tried applying to sell at the farmers market?
I haven't, but man, I would love to. Okay. Bing, there you go. See, it's just, you got to keep your eyeballs open and your ears open for little things like that pop up and then jump on it.
Can you explain though, doesn't the farmer's market have restrictions? It has to be like handmade, it has to, all of that, so they all know.
Yeah, so it does have to be handmade. We have a limit on crafters, but our Saturday market's nowhere near full for them. But your stuff would be perfect, especially because it's aimed at Pueblo and you do all the work yourself, it'd be perfect.
I'll get your contact information if you don't mind and go forward with that.
Yeah, because we had another student who was talking about that in another class, and she was rejected because her stuff was not handmade. And so that's where the whole process was. So that's what the requirements are. Yeah, handmade and local.
All right, so I think that's all that I had that I wanted to share with you. And again, I'm just reiterating that for me, the most powerful thing that you have ever to sway anything, and the only thing that you have complete control over, is your thoughts and the way that you think about things. So when you find yourself feeling discouraged or overwhelmed on things, you just got to change the view of how you're thinking about it, coming about it from a different angle. Because when you're discouraged, you're going to get roadblocks left and right, and people aren't going to agree with you, and you're not going to find cooperative components. But it's when you're able to expect, of course they're going to want to buy some puzzles. Of course people are going to like this design. They sure do. And so that's super powerful. And then knowing the resources that you have, the SBDC put me in touch with a lot of really great things. I probably would have made a lot of really stupid choices that I would be regretting now had I not sat down and step by step thought things through. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you. Where else can we get your products besides the
Supporting Pueblo. They are Seabells, the Weisbrod Aircraft Museum, 80/20 Wines, Peppers, Love Mug. Those are all places that sell the products. Trying to get them in on the places that are part of the montage. Yeah.
Have you contacted the El Pueblo History Museum?
I have initially. I haven't really. That's part of I need to do my follow-up with them. So that's the Heritage Museum and the Sangre de Cristo Art Center, and yeah.
How much did the printer cost?
I got an Epson EcoTank 7500 or something like that, and it was about $250. Yeah, and don't put in the regular ink. You have to buy sublimation ink, and I buy Hippo sublimation ink and A-Sub sublimation paper, and I'm very happy with the quality. The ink is probably about $25, and it's you put it. It's not a cartridge. You put the actual ink into the EcoTank, and so glop 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 takes the ink in. I've printed I don't know, almost 1,000 sheets, and I'm only on halfway through my second thing of ink, so it's very, very inexpensive.
What's the printer
Epson
again?
EcoTank, and I don't remember the model number, but you can use any EcoTank. So no cartridges, it's where you put the ink directly in. Hippo sublimation ink and A-Sub paper. And then I have a mug press and then also a flat heat press and the flat press is 11 in 1. You could do hats, shoes, shirts, different size of mugs and things like that. And it's, like I said, a lot of trial and error, but once you get it down and figure out how to tape it and get your seams lined up and how tight it's going to be, it produces really, really beautiful things. And on Amazon, there are a ton of different mediums that you can get that would complement your work.
Great information, thank you.
Very welcome.
Thanks, Shannon. I didn't know that you expanded to all that.
Oh, hopefully there's a little bit more too.
All right, while I'm loading up my presentation here, I'm going to let Bernadette from Community Navigator come up and talk. Okay, she's going to tell you about another resource that's available in Pueblo for a little while longer. Okay, and then I always embellish on it to make you guys get really interested in it after she talks about it. That way you'll be all knocking on her door, okay? So I'm going to let Bernadette talk about Community Navigator.
Thank you, Brian. So I am Bernadette. I am the co-director of the Community Navigator Pilot Program. So I work for SCED. SCED is the hub. And the way that this happened was that it was a 2-year grant that was given to us from SBA. So like Brian said, we are going on our 2nd year. We are already halfway through. So if you're looking for resources or anything that I'm going to tell you about here in a minute, I ask you to jump on board, sign up, let me help you, and let me get you all the resources that you need. Now, one of the great things that I want everybody to know is that everything that we offer is free. So anything that you need, whether it be social media, marketing, maybe just a startup, a business plan, anything with e-commerce, maybe some financing, or you're looking at anything like a loan or something like that, we can do it. So what I do is I work with a consortium of 6 different entities here in Pueblo. SBDC, Latino Chamber, NeighborWorks, PCC, Robin Marketing, who am I forgetting? Latino Chamber. I'm like looking at them, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? So yes, so anything that you need from them. So like I said, anywhere from startup and LLC, what you need to do, what are the processes, what's the procedures, I refer you to those folks. And when I refer you to them, then they contact you, they do a one-on-one and find out what the needs of the business are. I usually have that enter the first consultation, I can kind of find out what you need, what kind of business it is, what you're selling,